Good afternoon. I am Ana Lúcia Camphora, and I would like to thank the team at the Equine History Collective for this opportunity to present the development of my research on the immunological exploitation of the horse as a living technology in the pharmaceutical industry. Human fascination with horses is due not only to their physical potential. Rather than reducing them to the status of an efficient object, we attribute moral character to the functions we assign to them. In the broad and diverse collection of values that make up the history of equestrian cultures, our symbolic representation of the horse and of the techniques developed to have horse perform the different functions we ask of them eclipse the countless damage we inflict on them during these shared experiences. As long as equines generate benefits for us, we consider the different uses of horses as morally positive. More than other animal species, horses have arduously struggled in their efforts to perform the countless tasks we assign them. The aim of this study is to deepen our knowledge on the condition of horses used as a source of raw material to produce antivenom and other serums. We attempt to investigate ambiguities within the symbolic attributes that accompany the equine role as technical artifact, as well as the construction of a statute that evaluates the activities performed by the horse according to criteria of honor and necessity. Connections to be explored at the interface of equestrian cultures, ethics, and the history of modern science raise issues that have not yet been investigated, but are nevertheless relevant for the development of interspecies studies. But what are the limits of a horse's body? The place we assign to them assumes disturbing proportions deriving from persistent expectations regarding their efficiency and productivity, valued to the point of obscuring secondary implications related to the limits of their equine body. As technical artifacts, horses have become an intrinsic part of human societies, assuming mystified virtues within the economic contexts in which they were and are placed. It would not be wrong to attribute political properties to such specific roles. Socially efficient, horses have been part of technical and industrial systems that still today depend on the productivity of the equine organism. In equestrian sports, taking the equine body to its limits has been a constant expectation fostered by public demand. However, even today, certain limits remain open to science, and in many cases, the recognition of these limits does not rely by public support. Despite occupying a central place in the centuries-old serum industry, horses that supply blood, the vital raw material that drove modern immunology, perform one of the most unrecognized of all the technical functions that they have been given. Perhaps for this very reason, these horses have been systematically ignored in ethical debates on animal experimentation and in studies on equestrian cultures. Horses' ability to overcome limits in the diverse activities that we impose on them are sometimes interpreted as an expression of their agency, reinforcing the notion of nobility of character that is so often attributed to the species. Hence, a war horse ethics has become the greatest expression of this scantily contested moral construct. My purpose here is to examine equine participation on another battlefield, fought over and within equine bodies, intensely and systematically. The battle cry is "Horses save lives." Studies published in the first half of the 20th century provide a detailed description of the effects on successive injections of toxins and venoms, and the impact of the systematic bleeding to which horses were subjected in order to produce various types of serum. Such evidence regarding the chronic suffering that has been imposed on them has gradually been erased from scientific literature. Numerous issues remain hidden or can only be gleaned from information scattered throughout the history of serum therapy. Successive immunization regimes and large volumes of blood extracted impose critical and relentless consequences. In addition to the development of local ulcers or abscesses at the sites of venom injection, the continuous injection of toxins into horses' bloodstream leads to other serious systemic effects, such as gradual deterioration of liver and kidney function. In addition to anemia, bloodletting causes thrombophlebitis because of systematic vein punctures in the sternal jugular vein and inflammatory process in the lymph nodes. However, after 130 years, no issue remains as pertinent as the lack of standards establishing limits on the amount of toxins injected and blood extracted for serum production. Contextualization of the current global production of antivenoms is crucial for our understanding of the conditions faced by the serum-producing horse. As I have already stated, equine plasma is the fundamental raw material of an industry marked by chronic technological, financial, institutional, and social crises. Let us look at some conclusions from the World Health Organization's report, Snakebite Envenoming, a Strategy for Prevention and Control, published in 2019. Snakebite envenoming typically affects predominantly poor, rural communities in tropical and subtropical countries throughout the world. Antivenom production was abandoned by many companies from the 1918s and 1919s. In many regions, however, appropriately manufactured, quality-assured products are neither available or accessible, due partly to poor control and regulation of preparations. There are no minimum specifications for the potency, efficacy, dose, or safety of antivenom products. Despite being a secular method, serum production costs are high and extremely complex, indicating the urgent need to develop other more efficient and effective technologies, such as research with monoclonal antibodies. Hence, horses are the key element in an unsafe industry with a weak regulatory framework. This might explain why it was not until 2016 that the World Health Organization recommended human and ethical use of venom industry animals. The organization expressed particular concern for the potential harm that may sometimes be caused by venom injections, mainly the neurotoxins, necrotic, and cytologic, as well as by the adjuvants that are components of most immunization protocols to stimulate the inflammatory process that toxins unleash within the body and thereby increase the production of antibodies. In 2023, the Delhi High Court, India, accepted the argument put forth by people for the ethical treatment of animals in attention to grave concerns regarding equine treatment within equine's commercial antivenom production. The court recommended that rigorous routine inspections to assess animal welfare be conducted and that prompt punitive measures be taken against those found in contravention within the parameters of prevailing laws and regulations. It also recommended that inspections findings be kept transparent, open to public visibility, and that the adoption of no animal-based methods of antivenom production also be pursued. In Brazil, there is little evidence to support any control over the use of horses in antivenom production. There is a lack of visibility and transparency about how they are affected by immunization procedures, numbers and causes of death, etc. In recent years, when asking public care institutions about the situation of their horses, I have taken the white bleeding technique as an example. It consists of removing all the blood from the horse when it is at greatest risk of death and has low productivity in terms of antibody production. White bleeding was the subject of a paper published in 1949 discussing the appropriate method for carrying out the procedure, the objective of which was to ensure greater efficiency in production, and was then adopted with good results by eliminating less productive animals. In desanguination, the removal of blood is a slow process performed on a live animal, while the blood is replaced with saline solution so that the heart continues to function as a pump. In 2021, at a meeting at the Vital Brasil Institute in the state of Rio de Janeiro, I asked one of the directors if the practice was still in use. He reported that in the late 1918s, when he arrived at the institution, desanguination was being implemented, and that he even witnessed employees climbing on the horse's chest and pressing on its lungs so that it could continue breathing. Immediately after sharing this anecdote, the interviewee refused to continue the conversation, visible regretting what he had said. On another occasion, in an online lecture recorded on YouTube, I asked the Butantan Institute production director the same question about the practice of desanguination. She said she was unfamiliar with the term and assured me that she had never heard of such a practice. This highly improbable, since desanguination is a traditionally recognized practice and one that is cited in the scientific literature on the production of equine serum. Horses working in the antivenom industry save lives and are described as gentle, easy to handle animals with a high blood volume. Recent images released in the media reinforce the idea that they enjoy a high level of animal welfare with access to water and good food. To reduce stress, they listen to classical music. When an invention is proclaimed as the salvation of a society, the political attributes of its artifacts become evident. The improvements achieved by the serum industry over the last 130 years have not enabled an overcoming of outdated paradigms, but rather a mere addition of knowledge within the context of outdated paradigms. Within the serum industry institutes, a science of backwardness is currently maintained. As a core part of this technical framework, horses used in the antivenom industry continue to live within a taken for granted more than human relationship based on pushing equine capabilities to the limit. To refuse to recognize that resistance and resilience are not limitless capacities becomes a naturalized extension of this former. The antivenom industry thus gains a preeminent place in a field that converges in its premises with the underlying tenets of equestrian cultures. In both arenas, the meaning of equine existence is confounded with ingrained beliefs and utilitarian standards which stubbornly prevail. And all the while, these noble creatures press on, fulfilling our human needs with gentle honor. Thank you very much.